Welcome to the 8 Billion Project, where we're on a mission to make an impact by discovering and sharing the purpose of every person on this planet. I'm your host, Lisa Florida. Enjoy today's episode. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the 8 Billion Podcast. I am your host, Lisa Florida, and today in studio, I have two very special guests. As many of you guys know, in May of 2022, I embarked on an expansion project with the 8 Billion to film a documentary called Sama Dilaut. And as many of you guys know, it brought us all the way across the world to the Philippines. And here in studio today, I have two very good friends of mine. One is Christine Ramos, the director of Sama Dilaut, and two, I also have Rhadem Musawah, who is our executive producer of the film. However, before we get into this and dive in, because I know many of you guys are excited to hear a lot of the backstory of us pre-filming and how we, everything that went on in the Philippines, I would like to give them a proper introduction. So if you'll bear with me here, Christine is a creative producer and showrunner based in Orange County, California. She has worked in Los Angeles-based studios such as KSCI Channel 18 as a content producer and a showrunner for Phil-Am TV Channel 31, Phil-Am Jams, and Indie Manila. Christine is also the co-founder of Divulge Dancers and Film Festival Hollywood and managed the Black Magic Collective film festivals and workshops in Los Angeles. Christine has also co-produced content for the National Association of Broadcasting and has line produced for shorts and featured films. Following her passion for film, storytelling, and building awareness, Christine will debut her directorial role, Driven to Make a Difference. Christine is engaged with building communities and awareness of mental health. She has worked alongside nonprofits creating PSA content and is also trained advocate for Partners Against Violence. And Rhadem Musawah is an award-winning Moro documentary filmmaker and human rights activist in the Philippines. He is also a member of PhilSalat Association under Philippine Olympic Committee, Changemaker alumnus of Thomson Reuters Foundation, and 2021 Philippine Film Ambassador awardee under Film Development Council of the Philippines, Office of the Philippine President. Ooh, that was a long-winded one. Currently, he is an international consultant on humanitarian and gender programs in the Philippines under the United Nations and diplomatic agencies. Welcome, Christine Ramos
Thank you,
and Rhadem
Lisa.
Musawah to the 8 Billion Podcast.
It's a pleasure to be here since our trip, that crazy trip in Europe.
Right? My
Oh,
goodness,
yes.
guys, we are finally sitting here. And the reason I wanted to bring both of them on, and I thought that this was going to be a very special podcast, is you see on our social media all of the things that we do. We've traveled, we did our premiere in Philippines, which I wasn't able to attend. We then went to Europe in the summer. And then Christine and I opened with Berlin, Germany, and Copenhagen. And then Rhadem went on to do three or four more premieres. We finally circle here to North America. Rhadem and I go to Philadelphia and do one of the colleges. What is this?
Drexel University.
Drexel University. And here we are here in California because we are about to do our premiere here in California, Los Angeles at UCLA, and to follow again in Inglewood. But one of the things, like I said, or many of the things, is that I really wanted to bring them here today so then you would really understand what it took to, from inception of the of the concept of Sama Dilaut all the way to us planning because we did a lot of Zoom calls.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Right? We did a lot of Zoom calls and then we finally made our way to the Philippines in May of 2022. And then we met as a team and then we filmed. We had a rigorous filming schedule. So I know, and then here we are, guys. Um, You right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, that was quite a ride, actually. We've been planning this for over a year just to even get us to the small little island of Cebutu, which is, the most southern part of the Philippines, right? So that was definitely something else. And our Zoom calls that.
Endless Zoom calls.
Wait, okay. One of the things, okay, and I really want you guys to have fun with this. This was the main reason because when we sit in panel discussions, we are answering very intense questions about climate change, social change, all the different details that went in. And sometimes, like I was saying,
Very
yeah,
academic, very political, very it's everything over the roof. And now we're just sitting here and it's good to have this like, relaxed environment
Right.
to just
Yeah.
discuss on
yeah.
what is, important to us and why we are here.
Yes. And one of the things that I wanted to do too was allow you guys to really sit here and really bring your personalities out.
Oh,
Because
okay.
one of the things, okay, I want to tell the audience, one of the things too is, like I said, you see the formalities of what we put out on social media, or if you've ever sat live with us on panel. But when we're in the background, we're like, hey, doing this, do you have this, and all this kind of stuff. So there is a lot to really cover today. And I really just thought it was proper to really allow the audience to really see who you guys really
Right.
are. So I hope
All
you guys are
right.
going to be
Yeah.
able to hope we can cover everything and you guys will be able to see what it was like having two really working with two really great friends and then really bringing Sama Dilaut to life. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Christine, do you want to
Right.
start or Rhadem in terms of
Um,
concept of
the concept, yeah, I mean, this actually started way back, maybe I would say 13 years ago during film school. I know when Rhadem and I went to film school, I actually had the opportunity to go back to the Philippines to expand another business. And since I had really nothing to do there, I decided just to go back to school and do film. And I met Rhadem. Rhadem was quite young. He just probably graduated, I think, college during that time. And he was the only person in our class who wanted to focus on documentaries. And they actually thought, our teachers actually thought that he was quite political. No, that wasn't even the word. The
hence
word
hence
was,
Until
yeah,
now.
until
yeah,
now, human rights,
no,
hello.
what did they used to call you? He was propaganda.
Oh,
A lot of his stuff, yes.
this
And
is going to get really good, you guys.
hit the spot where Radem just, was kind of doing his own thing. And one of the things that he wanted to, I think we talked about this, was like, you know what? I think we should do something with the Sama Dilaut,
Uh-huh.
which I had no idea who they were until when I came into the Philippines and I was stuck in traffic and I noticed a family that was dressed in cultural clothing. They were tapping on the window, panhandling, asking for money. And so during that time, the driver was very resistant of me giving them money. They said, you know what? This community is from, I guess they lived in the seaside. I guess I'm sorry, the
Coastal
the
area.
coastal areas of the Philippines, and they had migrated inland for a better life. And they did say that a lot of the community itself just relies on fishing as their source of survival,
Right.
which was interesting because why would they want to move into the city if that was the case, right? I mean, they were living by the sea. Fish was very abundant in the Philippines, and the first thing I thought was these women and children were coming in. Why?
Right.
And so I think it got to the point where we started doing a lot more research, and that these women and children were actually being recruited by syndicates to beg for them. So that's another form of, I guess we would say, social issues, which is human trafficking.
Yeah.
And so it just happened that Radam and I were talking about that. And it was something that we didn't talk about until later on as we got older. He got more into filmmaking and documentaries and things like that, that we actually went back into wanting to cover more about the Sama Dilaw community. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So this started way back when
I
you were just a
know.
twink.
And what?
Okay. young
I
little
beg your
young
pardon.
little boy
No,
from
but
film
this is
school.
actually our second project together. We did work together on that one short film in the past, which about something like killing, like very goth or
I was,
something.
yeah, we were, I mean, you're in the Philippines. I think during that time, a lot of our films, a lot of our projects we were using our natural environment, and so it
Yes.
seemed kind of gloomy all the time in the Philippines. So all of our stuff was just what, like horror films,
Well, no,
crime
Christine
films,
would
and
always tell
everything.
me what it would take like to go through film school and how creative you guys would have to be, right? In order to
Yes,
create
right.
sets
Yeah.
It was very
and
competitive.
It
it
really
was.
was. Yeah.
And it's also like a survival of the fittest. And I'm quite really happy that
That you
Christina and I
survived.
survived it. I was
Survived.
like, oh, okay.
Yeah, no, it was great. And it was fun. Yeah. So we worked together when we were young, and I used to get mad at him during set, right? Because he didn't do anything.
Yeah, because I suck. That time.
He was my production manager, and it was something he'd always bring up, like why, giving him a hard time during that time when we were young.
Wait, so okay, so film school was over, yeah, it
Yeah.
was over 10 years ago. And interestingly
Yeah.
enough, it was a
13. Yeah.
13 and it was
13.
in 2012, right? Because at the same time I spent time in the Philippines and you were going
Yes.
to film school. But
Yes.
interestingly enough, I didn't meet Rhadem at the time.
Are you sure? I
I
think
know
you
you keep
might
saying
have
that I
met
do.
Rhadem
Probably
because
we did, but we just probably ignore each other.
Yeah, that was probably it. Rhadem.
We are a little bit of a diva. But anyway, just kidding.
Just looking
yeah.
at camera.
Yeah.
But okay, and so Rhadem, you really knew from the early stages of film school that you wanted to go into documentary film. Did you know specifically like even human rights and
Well, actually, if I can be honest enough, the only reason at the time in 2010 that I focus on documentary film is because everyone wants narrative
documentary?
films.
Uh
And I'm at that certain stage where I'm looking for my niche. I'm looking for where I could be good at, and I don't want to follow everyone's. Like
yeah, you wanted to be different.
they all want to be a film narrative director and this and that. And I felt like when I was younger, when I was in college, I already participate in protests for good governance and an issue on several human rights issue. And I felt documentary film is actually the best one that I could take advantage for me to be able to echo those kind of issues that
Right.
we experience in the Philippines.
Well, it really did become your passion though, because I wouldn't say that you'd be 12, 13 years out later, right? I mean, obviously, if any of you guys have already followed Rhadem, you could see his passion for human rights.
No, actually, when I finished film school, I started working for TV at ABS-CBN, and then I jumped to another TV station, and it was me being brokenhearted for the first time that led me to decide to step out from the corporate environment and truly find myself and be independent and have agency on what I do.
Right.
So
No.
yeah,
No,
brokenhearted works.
absolutely. And what I wanted to say too is for the audience who's listening, Rhadem was actually featured in season 1 of 8 Billion.
Yes.
And interestingly enough, like I think most people would know. I think I've said it enough that Christine and I actually went to elementary school together. So
Right.
we
Yes.
definitely have a deep childhood bond,
Mm.
which not only even took us from elementary, but like I said, at the same time, Christine and Jay, her husband, moved to the Philippines. I stayed there for some time too. So it always seems to have like this certain alignment that Christine and I have. And then I just can't believe like how many years later now, Christine?
Right. 20 something years.
No
Wait,
dropping
20?
of age, please.
20 something years. We've known each other for quite a long time, Lise. Yeah.
Right?
Hmm.
I know. And to really and so I do want to say this and I want to recognize this, at least even on camera. I think I've told Christine this before. I just wanted to say really thank you because when I really first started, even before 8 billion live streaming, Christine really was the dear friend that really was just like, I believe in you, Lise. And so that went on, and then she introduced me to Rhadem season 1, and she really stood behind me. Like she came to all my live streams, she watched, she helped me research podcasting. I mean, she really had set the tone and foundation of like really love and friendship. And when the opportunity really came up to really embark on this project with you, beyond a shadow of a doubt, I really wanted to not only support you in this dream, but also to do something really meaningful for the people in the Philippines, for our motherland. And so I can't even imagine like this trio that we formed to
Right. Yeah.
really, yeah, it just seemed like this whole alignment of all of us putting all of our skills and talents together really worked
Right. Yeah.
really
Yeah.
well.
I think the chemistry is good. I mean, we've been filming there for some days, and we have our ups and downs, but we end up in a good day with saging
Well,
ourselves.
no, I know, right? We're gonna get to where we're gonna eventually get there to when we were actually on land filming. But I do want to talk about some of this stuff that a lot of people didn't know, because I know that Christine, you guys had the concept about a year before. Rhadem even maybe prior to that, because it is like the southern islands of the Philippines and the Sulu Sea. You're very familiar with the area. I jumped on maybe about 5 to 6 months prior, but at that point, this is where all the meat, the meat was like, and we really had to jump in, because by that time in May, we were talking about, okay, we've got to film. One of the things too, a lot of people, I made the announcement that I was going to film this documentary, and we had an undisclosed location. So we'd be like, I remember we'd show in the computer, we're going to this little island here, but no one would really know. And that this was really interesting, because a lot of the things I didn't really know until, or understand about filmmaking until we went there. So could you guys share a little bit more about why we chose to go undisclosed first, of our location and the prep work that was involved for us to.
Was it undisclosed or
We
something?
were because just to give a background, maybe you should give the background of the most southern parts of the Philippines.
Okay. Well, the most southern part of the Philippines, well, I think a lot of people around the world always associate it as an armed conflict area because of its historical past, where rebel groups and the government, conflicts, and a lot of other issues underlying to it. And but the island that we went is actually not a dangerous island. However, it is still an island that is under the red zone. So it means it's an area where Americans like you are supposed not to go. But I really like it that when we did talk about it, you were a little bit hesitant, but you were also a little bit motivated.
Oh,
Right?
I was.
Right.
Both of you and our entire team's like, oh, are we really going there? And so on and so forth. But we're like, let's do this.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. And that's the reason why we didn't really say what location we were in, because we were getting a lot of uh feedback from our family members
Yeah.
and
Yes.
friends that,
Yes.
for us, especially Americans coming into the most southern parts of the Philippines, which the Filipinos don't
Right.
even go to, because due to just the armed conflict that well, not necessarily, it doesn't exist in that island, but it's
Right.
surrounded by
It's
um,
part of the region.
part of the region
Yeah.
where there's still armed conflict. And so I think we all decided not to promote where we're at, just for our safety as well.
Correct.
I know we maneuvered into that island quite, um, you know,
Like easy.
easy,
Yeah, we
yes.
did.
And then we tried to make sure that we didn't make any type of movements that would attract any type of,
Attention.
attention within
Yeah.
the other islands.
How
that's
could we
that's
not?
pretty
How
much
could
it.
we
That's
not
the reason
attract
why.
attention
Yes.
with
Um,
Rhadem? The one person that they would know would
Oh.
be the loudest.
He is the loudest, but as women too, we have to admit, Filipino Americans coming in, they're not used to seeing, um, I guess Americans coming into that area.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
and also we got it a little bit easier because the community welcome us, and the
Right.
community sort of like pave way for us to somehow get protected while we do what we have to do there.
Yes.
And we also conducted some few activities there for the kids.
Yes.
So it was a really nice experience, and it's really good that both of you are really get heart to heart talk with the community, while me and Tony G from Mujer LGBT were just counting the funding and making sure all the logistics are in place. So it's really good. We all have a different roles in that island, and I think all of us did our best really well.
Right. I mean, it's definitely very uncomfortable, right? I mean, just the heat,
Oh,
humidity.
I was burned.
Right.
Um, yeah, and the way that we maneuvered through the island was just through wooden boats and walking through wooden planks across the ocean, I guess.
Right.
um,
Well, what
that's
a,
definitely an experience where
I know. I think I want. That's why I keep asking you for that footage, Chris, because there is one from the drone shot.
the drone shot that I almost fell into the dirty water.
Oh,
Right.
But yes, yeah.
There are going to be many of those that I don't know. Hopefully, if I can actually add them onto this.
Yeah, and I think I think we did pretty well considering. I mean, looking back, I mean, it was something definitely I've never experienced before, and having to be in that island. Um, was very remote, and I know that the safety was also, we did not want to talk about it out loud, but we knew that safety was such a big issue that we
yes.
talked, we kind of kept in
Right.
within ourselves and not really talk to each other about, because we didn't want to make each other nervous about
Yeah.
how dangerous the area could be. I mean, when we finally arrived in that island, I mean, the first thing we did was check in with the military,
With the military.
Right.
right? And that's
Yep.
something I've never experienced before. And then you making sure that, and they escorted us to our host, our house, and that was, and I don't think we even stepped outside after 6 p.m. I think that was the schedule that we gave each other ourselves, was that before the sun even came down, we were going to be locked in this house,
Yes.
right?
But was that because we? But that's the schedule you guys planned for us.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
just because we didn't know how it was going to be. We just tried to make sure that if we did attract any type of
Potential.
attention within the other islands, that we were somewhat like protected
Yeah.
by our
Yes.
host. And we were lucky enough to stay with our host, who was a barangay captain, barangay captain is, what is that? Like a security, like a lower,
It's like village chief.
yes,
Yes.
Right.
the village
And
chief.
and I think all of those things that we sort of like all agreed to do, for example, like be home before sunset, it's actually a preventive measure just for us to make sure that we'll be able to do what we have to do there without any scratch.
Right. No, absolutely. One of the things that I wanted to say was I know now that we talked about like not it was the red zone, but it was really honestly they were very safe islands.
Right,
Sibuto,
yes.
Sitangkai, and then when you actually go there, one of the biggest surprises that I had, not to think that I was ever in danger, and one of the things is that my dad didn't want me to go to. I talk
Yeah.
about that quite a bit. My dad
That
stopped
you
me.
lied. No.
I lied. I did lie. We could talk about
Yeah.
anything here on the podcast, and it's completely open. So my dad
Okay.
knows at this point I lied. I don't like to call it a lie, but I just said I'm going down to one island. I think I told them I'm going to Zamboanga, but we still took one more plane and a 3-hour boat ride down
Yes, in this wooden boat that
in
Yes.
the
was
wooden boat.
Oh, it was 4
yeah.
hours with that lancha, yeah? That
Yeah.
wooden
Yeah.
boat. And we were there. I think people have also seen some photos that we posted online. We actually look like, those refugee boats.
Yeah.
And it was a really humbling experience. And I also remember that our last Zoom call, some of you were like expressing sort of like hesitation or doubt. And I was like, there's no turning back
Well,
anymore.
No, there wasn't well, knowing that I had to do this, I was all in, right? The only thing that I would say is like, yes, Southern Island of the Philippines, none of us, especially most of our parents, most Filipino Americans, a lot of our relatives are really from Luzon and,
Which is the northern
in
part.
the
yeah.
northern part of the Philippines. Southern part of the Philippines, even though there are many Filipinos from there, it's not very heavily visited. It's not a
Yes.
tourist destination. So one of the other things too in prep time, if you guys remember, was Lisa, what are you gonna wear? No lashes, no makeup. I think Rhadem was like, what was it, a hijab?
Yes,
a
you have to wear
hijab.
hijab, you have to wear
Yeah.
pants, you cannot wear bright colors.
And mind you, everyone, what is the weather in the Philippines? Minimum 90
No,
degrees
it was
and
like,
above,
yeah, so it was like 90 to 100 with 100% humidity.
right?
There
Yes.
is no way. And I remember also trying to negotiate with our host because she's you know, Muslim, right? I tried to negotiate with her. Can I just wear shorts? And she wouldn't let me wear shorts because it was so hot.
Well, she wouldn't.
No, I
Oh, it was just wasn't suggested.
no, because women in that area do not wear shorts. They don't show their legs,
Yeah.
right?
And here's what's really crazy. You're very conservative too. Christine
Right.
is very conservative. It's just that she gets really hot.
I know it was really hot there. But eventually, as the member of the team who are member of the LGBT got a go signal to wear shorts.
Yeah, everyone was like, okay, they were happy, but I was still
Yeah.
doing all the correspondence and the interviews. So, I mean, the good thing is after arriving there, they were saying that, for the most part, as long as I had at least covered, like I wore short sleeves and pants on
Yes.
all of the filming. And then I think they were okay. I think I tried to slip away with the lashes a little bit, so I kind of got away with that. But then it was literally like almost no makeup. It was just like
Right.
foundation.
And just to give a bit
I,
of background
yeah.
also of the southern parts of the Philippines, they're all predominantly Muslim
Yes.
culture.
Yes.
So everybody, all the women wore hijabs and were fully clothed. So for me, they didn't really. I mean, I have short hair. I just wore a hat, but I guess I didn't really stand out. Maybe they thought I looked like a boy, anyways.
Or probably a butch lesbian.
No, interestingly enough, we thought that it would be more like very traditional, and it's a full spectrum. I
Right.
don't know if you guys, I mean, we all have different lenses through which, but I would say it was a full spectrum, especially maybe even when we got to Tawi Tawi, because there are Muslim women that had fully covered themselves,
Right.
right? All
Yes.
the way down to even
Yes.
like all
Niqab.
nikam.
Yeah.
Thank you for for that. And then there were just different levels where they would just be like they could show their face. And then there were also women that were not even dressed in traditional clothing. So
I think it's because Rhadem and I were just talking about that uh the history of the southern islands back during I guess during Spain was that they actually would recruit or move um Filipinos from Luzon that was Christians, right? And they would move them into the southern parts of the Philippines, which is in the Mindanao. So that's why you get a mixture of Catholicism
ah,
and then also Muslim. So the ones that you do see are not of Muslim faith.
right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks. I'm all like, that's good to know. I learned something sitting
Yeah.
down here. We
Yeah.
had to learn so much though. I mean,
Right.
okay, let me ask you guys now that they kind of understand like our prep, and now we're making our way down to the Philippines. We talked about like security and all this kind of stuff. What were things that were individually for each of you? I'd like for you guys to go. What were things that were not so, I don't want to use the word shocking, but what were things that you didn't anticipate or expect? As it could be any parts of the whole trip. This is us
Didn't
now on the
expect.
island.
Oh, okay. Actually, how smooth
Mhm.
our transition was, or actually our movement in that area. I think I was just quite worried about like our safety, right? As a director, the first thing I always had to think about was my crew. And so having to spend that much time in that, with the locals there, I was quite surprised how um easy it was, how safe I felt. Not
Right.
easy, how safe I felt around the people. You
Right.
know, even I mean, we come from here and we're not surrounded by like the Muslim faith. So that was kind of in the beginning when we first landed on our first which is Bongao, right? And then predominantly it's Muslim faith. that kind of threw me off because I just felt like I wasn't in the Philippines. It's something that I've never seen before, where traditional cultural clothing was still being worn, hijabs were being worn. So that was quite different for me to see because I didn't feel like one, I knew that I didn't fit in, and it was definitely something I've never seen before,
Right.
right? Coming from from the US and also spending a lot more time
Time in northern.
in the northern parts, which is a little bit more which is westernized, than going into these um into the southern parts of the Philippines where they really are still um what do you call it? They still carry their culture.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And actually, that really represent awareness on who we are as Filipino. We are a diverse community, a nation of islands with different backgrounds, but together we are all Filipinos.
Yes, we're all
Right.
Filipinos.
We really are, Rhadem.
Yeah.
Well, okay, let me ask you, Rhadem. I mean, considering you have you, I don't even know if I know this about, have you visited Tawi Tawi or Sitangkay, Bongao, or any of the southern islands that we visited? Or was it your first time visiting?
Oh, no. I've been to Bongao in Tawi-Tawi in Bongao, sorry, in Bongao area many times in the
Okay.
past. It was my first time as well in Cebu and Sitangkay.
Okay.
So all of us, I think it was all our first time all together.
Yeah, it really was.
It was also a humbling experience for me because I only heard about Cebu and Sitangkay through a Tausug song in Mindanao.
So it was your first visit too.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Mine for me, well, I one was not, it wasn't shocking because we knew that we had very limited cell service, right? That
Yeah.
was really hard. I mean, if you get it, you get it for like one tiny second
In
somewhere.
midnight.
Yes, in the midnight, holding your phone all the way up to the sky, and maybe you might get a little inkling of signal. For me, what was different for me was really to see the stilt housing. My goodness, I mean, I don't know with you guys, but I was just like, I didn't know this was kind of like Survivor because the skill and talent it takes to walk on that stilt housing, literally, I don't know how to explain it, you
It's not
guys.
still housing, it's a stilt community.
It is a
I
stilt
mean,
community.
it's a full village, right? The homes are on stilts, and for some reason, there's like so many holes.
Yes.
I guess like there's missing planks everywhere, and then when you see the locals
Walk through it. It's
as
like
if it
concrete.
was nothing.
Yeah. It's literally concrete. But I remember going from location to location, having to do the interviews. And sometimes, like, you have to really be careful because one wrong step and you're down in the water. And I know that there's been footage of me and me being trying to balance, and these homes were so high above the water, and I was just
And
like,
also, you enter a houseboat.
did I enter a house?
Yeah,
Yes,
you
you
did.
did.
I
You
did.
also did some few rounds
I
of
did enter a house, but with
W-
Jovelyn.
Yes, one of our
yes.
local
Yes,
yeah,
that was really nice.
local host, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, she was like, okay, take me around. Yeah.
We are like on the ground, like, will she be back?
There's pirates on
I
that
know. I
Suma
actually
Sea.
had a lot of fun. I was like, oh, this is
She's
really
gonna get
great.
kidnapped.
I wonder if you're just like, just floating all day. That was really, I mean, that was really one of the things for me that was really heartwarming was to like in the interviews was really to understand the deep history of the Sama Dilaut. And and I know based upon some of the interviews, they just talk about like the true boat people. They really are nomads. They really say that they like will float or like will be in their boat and just go wherever the water takes them. So that was really something, yeah.
That's actually also a nice way of life. Let the water take us wherever we will
Yeah,
be happy.
it is.
Right.
I mean, remember
Oh.
what we were talking about, about the future. Going back to that, I know that one of the questions that we asked, like the people were, how do they see their future?
Oh,
How
yes.
how I think what was the question that we were asking? I think
Oh,
About
did like something about
dreams.
dreams? Yeah,
dreaming,
we have
right?
a
What are your
dream.
Yes.
dreams? What does the future
Oh
look for your
yeah.
kids and yourself? And they didn't quite understand what that
Yeah,
meant. And it was quite frustrating for us because even our interpreter was trying to, you know, explain to them what that meant, but they had no sense of what that word dreams and future because they live in the present. And I know we talked about it, and there's that beauty about that,
yeah,
about living every day in the present, right? But it's also quite sad because they couldn't see anything beyond today,
yeah,
right?
absolutely.
It's also because of the poverty and opportunity. Opportunity is not really there. They have to survive. They find a way to survive every day.
Right.
I think us living in the present as a privileged people, that's actually really good.
Yeah.
But with them, they had no choice but to live to the present and really make sure that there's food on the table.
Yeah,
Mm, yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, there was so much that this whole book of worms that opened only when we got there to truly understand. But it, like just what Christine said, it was really a beautiful process, how seamless it kind of went. We stuck to the schedules. We were extremely exhausted at the end of the day just because,
Right.
the
Yeah.
weather conditions and all this kind of stuff. But I just wanted to say it is a a debut for both of you, one as a director and one as an executive
I
producer.
know.
So before I get to you, Mr. Executive Producer, I'll ask you,
Mm,
Christine, what was it like? You know, I'm sure so many people, I mean, considering all like now, like all the film festivals that we got
right.
on,
Yeah.
I know that that was so far from anything we had ever imagined.
Right. Yeah. I mean, originally, what we weren't even going to enter any film festivals. And, you know, I just went about it. I don't know. I mean, are you asking me how I feel about the festivals and their screenings?
No, before I get to that place to even talk about in that area, just this whole thing about what was it like for you? Because I'm pretty sure, like, I know that maybe even some students were asking that, like, the, that whole process for you, um, what it really took from you, like, in terms of emotional, like, what it was like to prep for this part of your life and this big project
Right.
that,
It was definitely, this is something that's been ongoing for me, I guess. I guess I've always wanted to direct, but I've always been behind the scenes. I've always produced, I've always done production management. And I think I've always felt a little discouraged about even though I'm behind the camera still, but having to be responsible, fully responsible for a team and also the content and things like that. It was a huge step for me. I mean, it took me a good, 15 years to be able to get here. And even then, throughout our process of like pre-production, production, post-production, that feeling that you're is it ever going to be good enough, right? Am
yeah.
I ever going to be good enough for this, or am I ever be
Filmmaker's
prepared?
problem.
Yes, and it's actually still ongoing right now that it's hit in so many different places, and I have an amazing executive producer, so he
Right.
was able to screen it all around Europe and also in Asia, and I'm still trying to process it,
Yeah.
whether or not is this still good enough, is this the best I could have done,
Right.
right? And so that's, I guess, as a filmmaker, we'll take the wins when we can,
Yeah.
but it's always thinking about how do I do, what can I do better?
Yeah.
And I think that's like my biggest, I don't know.
The your biggest takeaway maybe of this whole experience.
Right. Yeah. That I am like, I was able to do something. It took me that long to be in front of or behind the camera and fully be responsible for the content and also my crew, and yeah, and I'm still learning, I guess. I mean, I can still be a better director. I love doing these things. So I'm guess more focused on doing more documentaries and possibly narratives
Right.
soon. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, congratulations on all the success
Oh,
as
thank you.
even a female filmmaker or director, and winning all of those awards and film or getting the selections on film festivals. I mean,
Right. Yeah.
that was real. When Christina and I first got the first one, we were like, "What?" And then literally within a day, we're like, "We got another one." We're like, "What?"
Right.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
crazy,
It's yeah, I'm still processing.
right? And that was
Hmm.
just the beginning of this year.
That's just the beginning of this year. And yeah.
Yeah. And then Radam, for you as now making the move over now as an executive producer, most of your experiences, of course, were always you were the director and behind the film. Like, what was that change like? Right? Because there were times you're like, okay, that's Christine. That's Christine. Was it hard for you to not be behind the camera and have your say or do this or yeah, what was
Actually,
your
I was more happier.
were you happier?
No, because it kind of because technically the concept it started with me. I've been thinking about that concept for many years, and for some odd reason, uh, most of the people that funds my film want fun topic that talks about climate change and the Sama Dilaut community. And I talked to Christine, and she's like, "Oh, okay, that's nice. Let's go." Then we talked to you, and for some odd reason, everything just
Fell into place.
fell into place, and I felt like, okay, probably it's also the time that I should sort of step back. Well, actually, I didn't step back. I should step up
Right.
from being director, becoming executive producer. But and I felt like probably this film would require a women lens.
Mhm.
And I felt like having you as a correspondent, having Christine as a director will give more value to this film.
Right.
And I always wanted, Christine and I we communicated after the film school for the last 13 years. And I we always wanted to work together, and for
Right.
some reason nothing had happened.
Yeah. I think he was more into documentaries. I was more into television.
Yeah.
Right. So
Right.
it never, and then he was directing. I was always a producer or like a production manager. So
We basically exchanged roles.
Right.
yeah.
No.
No, but
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
also I'm so proud that this film have led us to winning 3 awards, two from Canada and one from Germany, and we also had some few selections. Uh but as for me, just basing with what I do, with my profession is that I love how it turned out because it was a good awareness purposes for the Bajau community, for the
Yeah.
Sama Dilaut community. It was a good awareness for climate change issues. Uh, Everything what we have done and what we have accomplished have also paved way for me to be able to really talk
Mhm.
on these issues, on why this is important and why we should gather support for this community. And I don't think that will this all of that would happen without the help, the collective help of Makmak, of Nikki,
Right.
of Tony J, and the entire team, Tita Rosalind. And, it was just a humbling experience. And uh, I'm lost with words.
It really is.
It's,
It's
is
right.
is it is really nice. And what you call this? Oh, I'm supposed to say one thing, but I've been thinking about other stuff. But yeah,
No, it really did align and come together. One
I
of
wait, hang on. Yeah, I kind of remember. Sorry. So when you were saying that everything went smoothly, it actually did not because we actually have a guide script flow before we went to Tawi Tawi. Our
right.
character was supposed to be a boy.
Oh.
We're supposed we
Right.
have guide script with us.
We had like yeah, we pretty much we listed everything. We had a guideline of everything that we wanted, almost like sort of a like a very flexible storyline because based on what we had researched in the past, and we just kind of threw that away
When we got
when we
to
got there. And I mean that was kind of expected. We knew that it was going to change. I mean, at least we had sort of a guide what we wanted to talk about, like our key points, what we wanted to shoot. But once we were there, we realized that well, men weren't very forthcoming. They were hard to to work with, and
They-
even women
no.
were hard to work with because they had usually their husbands or the man.
And the men would like to interview through the wife.
Yes. So yeah, I mean, we knew that that was going to change, but
Yeah.
we didn't want to go there without an actual
Yes.
guideline, or at least a story that we wanted to kind of tell.
But you
Right.
know what's the lesson of the experience is that no matter how deep we are into our research, it is always different. You will learn something new and experience something different from what you have read on books or internet once you're already on the ground.
Right.
Right.
So I'm not saying that academic textbook are not reliable, but there's always a different learning when you are in that location and you engage with the community and you experience what they experience. So
Right.
so I think that was a really good, I think I call that immersion in a way.
Right. And then we had to, based on the facts that we had gathered, I think we struggled a little bit of how to because we pretty much threw away our guidelines after that when we
Right.
couldn't pull any of these answers from the people, and not pull, but they weren't forthcoming. They weren't as honest, I guess. Was to gather all of our footage and recreate, not recreate, but to kind of have that in a story
Right.
flow, right? So that was a sort of a struggle for us. But it's a struggle. That's a
It was a good
production, a
struggle
post-production
actually. It's a
struggle.
good stress.
But when we were doing the actual, that's post-production, but production-wise, I thought that it went seamless, even if we didn't get everything that we wanted. We actually got more, and we got a different story out of it, which
Yeah,
was
yeah.
interesting because we came in there really to talk about the migration of the Sama Dilaut into the
Mhm.
community, but now we realize that climate change was a huge factor, and also the injustice that the community is facing, right, and in their human rights that are kind of lacking for them in that
Yeah.
area. So that was definitely more than what we
Had anticipated
had
to
into say.
actually.
Yeah,
Mhm.
And
exactly.
you spend a lot of time with the editor.
Yes.
Yes.
And my role is always like, are you gonna finish now? We need to
Yeah.
launch it soon. When are you gonna be
I
finished?
know. Okay. I really wanted to touch on that because I know we only have an hour here.
Yeah,
It
okay,
might
go.
go a little over an hour, and I wanted to give like special thank you and at least let you guys have these last few moments. But Christine and post production, she had a romance going on with
Right.
Oh
With my
gosh.
editor. It was like
She did.
nonstop. I mean, just
But
it was,
I really do want, before I have you
yeah.
talk about it, I really do want to say that your attention to detail is absolutely impeccable.
Oh,
Because she
thank
would go,
you.
Lise, could you just check this out? And I was like, I don't even notice anything. She's like, do you hear the sound of the boat in the back? And I was like, I don't
Oh
hear
my god,
anything.
yeah.
Is that one of them? Was it the sound of the
I
boat
No,
in
think
the
it
back?
there's
was
just something.
it was like a click that even my editor couldn't hear.
Yes.
But but he heard it after. I was like, no, there's a click. There is something there. You need to remove that. It was just like little things here and there that I just didn't want to let go. I just knowing that it was
And she
there.
get paranoid about it. And I'm just there like, I hear nothing. Christine,
The
make
audio.
it quick.
But
No,
honestly,
that was
I mean, everything, right? From the
everything,
scoring
the scoring,
Oh,
to
everything,
yes.
even some reshoots that we did. We
Yeah,
sent another crew.
we had two reshoots.
We had two reshoots.
Well, I didn't
A
really
crew
call it
that's
reshoots.
well,
It's more
okay.
like follow-up shoots.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we sent
It's
out
called
a
a reshoot.
crew twice and back into that area, right?
Right.
To do some more filming. So yeah, it was interesting. And then, yeah, it was a really good experience, except I got sick. Remember
Oh
our
yeah,
last
she got
Oh.
dengue.
So I caught our last
The only
last
one
couple
who
of
got
days.
dengue, and all of us were okay.
Yeah.
We thought it was COVID too.
We
Oh, that
thought it
was
was
another
COVID.
thing. Christine made us test almost like every day.
Every day for COVID.
Every day for COVID.
Every day I'm swabbing my nose.
It was said, go get
Painfully.
it.
I was like, okay, for the love of God, okay, go.
But we were so exhausted.
Yeah,
But my God, it was
exhausted.
life changing for all of us.
It was, yeah, that's
Wow.
definitely.
It was really life changing.
Looking
Oh,
back, I really don't regret anything that we have decided to do there.
no.
It was a memory that we could share to people that we love.
Yes.
That there's something on the other side of the world. Well, it's just
Did
nice.
you like? We were like, music cue the music.
Yeah.
This, I'm telling you guys, this is why I wanted to bring both of them so you could really see their personalities, really get to know them
Yeah.
on a deeper level because I had an absolute time of my life really doing
Right.
it
It was
after all
like
this.
life changing. I mean, who would have thought we'd be like in the most dangerous area in the Philippines where our
Right?
parents did not want us. Not even the Philippine government knew that we were there, except
No. No, and then
Except the
another thing too. Oh, I'm sorry to the audience. I know we keep going everywhere around with this, but there was just so much behind the scenes, post production and all this kind of stuff that I really wanted you guys to really get a, get a really good look in at this team and what I worked with and why my heart is so full. But I really, yeah, it's honestly like it's really life changing for me. One of the things that I just wanted to say, like, who would have ever known at the same time simultaneously James Cameron was getting ready to release or film, was he filming Avatar 2, and it was in the inspiration behind it, it's not, we're the boat people, like
Yes.
the water people from Indonesia, Malaysia, and the
Mm,
Philippines.
right.
We had no clue all of this stuff was aligning for us while we were out there
All about
filming in the
water.
middle of the water,
Water, yeah.
right? And then to come out, what, a year and a half later, all the film festivals, all of the screenings,
Yeah.
thank you to you, Rhadem. It's
No, I think I thank the effort of everyone because everyone really went the extra mile.
right.
And also, I also want to acknowledge is that we have little budget to work with, but we survived. We were able to work on it. And God, we were able to produce a really nice film which everyone really likes.
Yeah,
Right. I think
absolutely.
that's, yeah.
That was the most important.
I think people can see, I mean, the heart that went into
Yeah.
that film.
They could
You know.
actually like really smell our sweats.
Yeah. Well, like I said, we only have an hour and I
Okay.
don't know if we've gone past it. And I really wanted to give you both an opportunity to, share any of the last things that, whether you want to share it with the audience, whether it was something life changing. I know we covered so much. And that's why I was saying to the audience, we went from one spectrum to the other. But Christine, is there anything that you want to share in these final closing remarks? I really wish we had so much more time.
Right. The Sama Dilaut people are the most, I guess, fascinating and heartwarming community that I've ever met. And it's unfortunate that the most southern parts of the Philippines are still getting that bad rep about terrorism and conflicts in that area, but it's untrue. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just like anywhere else. There are dangerous areas, but I would say that the southernmost parts of the Philippines, the most beautiful places,
Yeah.
and the people are just quite wonderful, and they're peaceful as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Verdam?
I think I just wanted to say is that, we live in a certain life we're in. We're here talking about them, but them, they don't actually have a voice. So I'm
Mhm.
really happy that through the film, we were able to give them a voice and a voice to sing. And I think that's part of the film that we were able to immortalize one dream.
Right.
Right.
And I'm
Absolutely.
happy about that. And I cannot thank enough our entire crew. Yeah, okay, no. Anyway, yes. Thank you
Re-
so much, Liz, for having
Thank
us here.
you.
Oh, thank you so much. My most poignant moment really had to have been like really watching Jovelyn and following that story. And then to really get her to sing at the very end, or and yeah, as in anyone who will have seen the documentary will know what I'm talking about. To I mean, there was almost very little words that came out from that woman or from that lady, young lady. And I remember that one time I said, you know, they like it, one of the things in life is always just to be seen. Little did she ever know that in, you know, what was going to happen to her six months later would be that her voice and her story would be shared around the world.
Yes.
So I just want to say thank you, though, to both of you. One, for giving me the opportunity to be the correspondent and to really embark on such an incredible journey, to learn so much about filmmaking, storytelling, really tapping into our hearts, and of course, allowing me to share that spiritual side on this project. But none of this would have ever been possible, not only without both of you guys, but there's a few people that I would like to say thank you to. Um, in with regards to making this film possible, Rosalind and Torben Benning, right, from Copenhagen, Denmark, Copenhagen. They were absolutely a couple that this if we didn't have them, and out of the kindness of their hospitality and generosity, this film really wouldn't be possible for us to be able to navigate through all of that. And then to our team, Christine, could you and Rhadem take over and let me um editing was
Go ahead.
No, yeah, yeah.
Mikhail Pineda was our editing. Our cinematographer is Stefan
Tuhan,
Tuhon. Our assistant writer was Nikki.
Nikki, Limlenko.
Okay. Our writer was Bing Nalaska.
and one more. Do we have one more?
Our production manager, of
Woo!
course.
I was just gonna say production manager. Actually,
Alvin Tony G.
can I have you come up here?
Fernandez. Yeah,
Can I have you
Tony.
come up here? Yes, I would have. Everyone,
Over here. Oh,
I
no.
would. Oh, right there.
Okay,
Oh,
there.
our
Come
production
down.
manager Tony.
Tony G. Come down pa. Okay.
Yeah.
Level for that. Ayan.
You guys, our production manager Tony. He was not part of the rest of the interview, but he has always been here. He actually flew in from the Philippines to join
Right.
us here in California. So I just wanted to say thank you, Tony, because it's been a year and a half since I saw you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, that was a long time.
yeah.
And thank you for the opportunity to work with you guys.
No, absolutely. I can't wait to actually, of course, do our screening in UCLA, and of course, one more in
Chino Hills and
I-
also one in Social Change
Social
Festival.
Change
Social
Festival,
Change.
which is Saturday, November 11th.
November
November
11.
11th.
Right.
So, everyone, I just wanted to say thank you for the bottom of my heart, for tuning in to this very, very special episode of 8 Billion Podcast with the director, the executive producer, and our project manager, Alvin Fernandez of Sama Dilaut. So thank you for tuning into this episode of 8 Billion. I will see you on the next one. Thank you for listening to today's episode of the 8 Billion Podcast. If it's moved you in any way, please share your thoughts or give us a review on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. To listen to more episodes, go to 8billionpodcast.com, or to learn more about our mission, go to 8billionproject.com.